I am not good at fighting games. Welcome to today's video where we're just gonna sit down and have a chat, because frankly, it's been a long time since we've done this, and also because I haven't really felt the need to do this in a while. And in all reality, I probably don't need to be doing it right now either, but I feel inclined. The sole inspiration for today's video was my builder bust that I did on Purple Haze Vampire, and frankly, I don't know when this video is gonna come out, so I'll just say it came out a few days ago, and if it's a few months ago, then, well, you'll know how long it took. Anyways, the reason that I bring up the Purple Haze Vampire video is after doing that video, despite most of the comments being mostly positive, there were a few standouts where people basically told me that I was using it wrong. And of course, we've been here before. I've done the whole "you're using it wrong" with King Crimson and AUT, and so for long-standing viewers of the channel, you'll know that that video was an exercise in frustration. So I'm not gonna do the same thing that I did with the King Crimson video, where I kind of trash on these people and show their comments on screen while showing the background footage of me doing the exact things that they're complaining about. But the point is, there were a fair few people that weren't so happy with the way that I talked about Purple Haze Vampire, which was weird to me because it almost seems like they didn't even watch the video. At the end of the video, I very clearly said that Purple Haze Vampire was fine. It's nothing spectacular, but it's like plenty usable. But despite that, I guess people only read the title, saw that I said you probably shouldn't use it, which I still stand by, and decided based entirely on that I'm a complete f***ing moron and everything I say should be completely ignored. And the arguments I saw time and time again was that I suck with X and I wasn't using things correctly. So that's basically the point of this video, and mostly just to tell you that, number one, yes, I'm not very good. And I've never, ever come on here to tell you that I'm really good, and that's why my opinion matters over other people's. There are plenty of times where I say things in joke, like I'm a god or I'm so good. But those are just that. They're jokes. That's all they are, and that's all they've ever been. It almost seems like people are incapable of understanding when I'm being sarcastic, and that could totally be a fault of my own. For example, with the world, there were plenty of people in the comments section talking about the world for future builder busts, and some of them started with, "I know you think the world sucks, but..." And I'm just sitting there like, I don't think the world sucks. The world's fine. It's not like really good or anything, but it's not horrible. There were some people in the comments trying to give an argument for Road Roller, and I've used enough the world to know that people dashing out, falling out, and just generally not getting hit by a Road Roller makes the move not very good, on top of the fact that it consumes rage and really just overall is not a very good move no matter how you slice it. But it is really almost as if people are incapable of grasping the concept of sarcasm. I never come on here claiming to be the best. That just doesn't happen, and that's because I know it's not the reality. But despite the fact that I feel like I'm really vocal about the fact that I'm not all that great, people have set this unbelievably high bar that I need to be the best, and that I'm truly a YBA god, or a fighting game god, or however they want that to be. And the real biggest eye-opener for me recently was when I went on to do a collaboration with another YouTuber, which I won't talk too much about since I don't think it's come out yet. But while I was on there, basically every single person that was in the voice channel consistently acted as if I was holier than thou and the best YBA player ever, and constantly saying things like I could beat mod specs and stuff, which is just flat out untrue. But I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what perpetuates this view. I don't know where these unrealistic expectations come from, because the only real strength that I have when it comes to these games is knowledge. I do a lot of research and I try to figure things out as much as I can to give myself as many advantages as I can. Figuring out what you can punish with what in order to do the most damage. Things that any other person that wants to be better would do. But when it comes to mechanical skill, like landing attacks and reading people's moves, I'm definitely below average. There's no question about it. The other thing that I didn't really address is the people telling me that I was using Purple Haze wrong, which perfectly could have been true, but that's mostly because I don't do the same kind of background research and background gameplay before I record things like builder busts anymore. And that's because I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, I just don't care. The game doesn't care enough to give us updates for a year. I shouldn't have to care enough to do 4 hours of gameplay with a stand before I do a builder bust on it. Anytime I review or go over any of the stands in the game, I'm basically always going to be at the mercy of the people who quote-unquote main them, especially these lesser known and lesser used stands. Because, believe it or not, I don't use this stand every day. Purple Haze I used for like 3 total hours one day. I played for like 6 games. So the people that are coming after me saying, you suck, why don't you know this, that also play Purple Haze every single game or have been using it for 3 weeks straight, have to understand that I haven't been doing that. I feel like it's not that hard of a concept to grasp, but apparently it is, because I'm YBA Eclipse, so I should know everything. The other thing that I have to address, which I almost feel like I shouldn't even have to do, because, come on guys, have you ever heard of video editing? But I get a lot of, Eclipse, you must be really good because you rarely, if ever, lose your 1v1s. Do you want to know why I rarely, if ever, lose my 1v1s? Well, there are 2 distinct reasons. Number 1, most YBA players are children who are terrible. The sample size on YBA is trash, so if someone like me is slightly better than trash, it elevates them a whole lot more than it has any right to. And number 2, when I have really sweaty games, when I'm using something that sucks, and there's no commentary, and it's just not entertaining, and then by proxy, I usually lose, then I don't include it, because nobody wants to watch me sit there with a serious look on my face, staring at the screen, sweating it out against some SCR vamp boxing while I'm using Purple Haze Vampire. That's just the reality of the day. It's not like I try actively to edit out my losses, and if I have a funny reaction or I get frustrated, then I'll leave that in because I know people want to see that. But people don't want to watch a sweaty 15-minute match where I'm focusing really hard, I say absolutely nothing, and then it's a ring around the rosy match of posing, and then I lose. Not only that, but sometimes I just straight up don't bother if I already know that it's gonna be over from the start. For example, for the Purple Haze video, wish I still had the footage, I logged on. There was a leaderboard player as the very first person I matched against. I think they were like ranked 31. I thought about it for a second, and then I decided I'm not even going to bother. I have not played a single match of Purple Haze Vampire ever in my life. The last thing I need is my very first game on to be going up against a Vamp Boxing, SCR, or Star Platinum. I just don't need that in my life, so I Alt F forward and I re-queued. You don't see that kind of stuff in the video because there's no point for it to be there. I already knew I was going to lose, I already knew that it wasn't going to be good footage, and the only reason I logged on was to get footage, so I just didn't bother. That's the real Eclipse, not the holier-than-thou beats leaderboard players with non-meta stuff. No, that doesn't happen. That's not reality. And if you've convinced that to be your reality, I'm sorry to break the illusion for you, but it's not true. The true reality of the day that people at some point are just going to need to accept is that I'm not some perfect person that people have put on a pedestal and think is the world's greatest player of all time. In truth, I've never really been good at fighting games. Ever. I have little to no playtime in any 2D fighters. The most playtime I have in any of those is Smash Brothers, where I spent hours and hours and hours trying to get good with little to no results. And eventually I just gave up because I felt like all of my practice was going nowhere. I think at my core, I'm just not a fighting game player, and that's just the way it is. I am a first-person shooter player, and for those of you who have seen my first-person shooter videos, especially on Battlefield, you'll know that I am actually legitimately good and will self-proclaim myself as legitimately good at first-person shooters. Doesn't mean I'm the best or anything, but I tend to come in around top 10 in most of the first-person shooter games I play, so I'd like to think I'm pretty good at them. But that's just not the truth with fighting games, no matter how you want to slice it. The truth is, I started the Stand Review series and the Build or Bust series all those months ago to help people. That's why I made them. I wanted to spread the knowledge that I had to the rest of the people that were playing this game and help them. Unfortunately, that drive to help people has somehow warped into the position I'm in today, where people think that the videos aren't made to help people make decisions and are rather made to tell people what they should do, which has absolutely never been the case. I don't know how we got to that point, and it genuinely saddens me that we did get there. Just because I say that you probably shouldn't use Purple Haze Vampire does not mean that you can't use Purple Haze Vampire. And it also doesn't mean that if you're in a game and you see someone with Purple Haze Vampire, you should go up to that person and say, Eclipse says you shouldn't use this. Because if you do that, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you, you're a fucking idiot. I know most of my viewership is young, but you need to have the mental capacity to make your own decisions. And while it's absolutely fair to take into consideration my opinion, you shouldn't just mirror my opinion on everything you do because you think I'm some sort of god. Because newsflash, that's not me. If we draw back the curtain and look at everything objectively, I'm just a guy sitting in my room with too much time in my hands making videos on the internet. Anyways, this has probably gone on longer than it has any right to, and in all likelihood, it's probably not going to change the minds of a lot of the Eclipse stands out there, nor is it going to change the minds of the Eclipse haters who think that I'm some sort of holier-than-thou figure. But at the very least, I can say that I tried my best. In case it wasn't obvious, that's gonna be all for today's video. So if you enjoyed it, you can leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.